Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. It's Friday, which means once more I shall bring you another obscurity in literature. Today we have a book from Humanoids Publishing, The Mask of Fudo by Saverio Tenuta. So, I've read some of Tenuta's books before, and I'll be honest, I like the concept, but something about his art, at least in the other stuff that I've read, Legends of the Scarlet Blades and Izuna. I think it was Izuna. Something about it just rubbed me the wrong way. So I thought, well, you know what? Maybe third time's the charm. Not to say there was anything actually bad or wrong or, things that I didn't enjoy about it. I thought the plots were a little bit hackneyed, but for whatever reason, this one drew my attention more so just the layout of the cover, the mask. I like masks. I was curious to see something about this book. And maybe it's just we've got our masked hero, and I've spent almost the entire duration of the quarantine / lockdown COVID period having nothing but tokusatsu stuff on our TV. So it's like, maybe that's part of it. Maybe I've just got a thing for heroes and masks. But one of the things that I've noticed about Tenuta's artwork is just the absolute density of detail that he really packs into each and every panel as I grab the camera from wanting to topple over. Okay, I thought this was a better tripod. I keep going through different tripods, trying to find something stable, and one of these days. So anyway, as I was saying, just the depth and level of detail in the artwork, and that's something I feel like we've really seen his stuff continue to grow and excel as he's published various books. And I mean, every panel is literally just dripping with charm and detail. One of the things I really liked about this book especially is just the character designs really grabbed me. I've always had a thing for funky and interesting looking samurai ninja types. So, in that regard, there's a lot to enjoy in this book. And funny enough, this book is spent mostly dwelling in the past. It's mostly related to the story of this mask, Shinosuke, the boy who finds it, and then all the various things that happen to him throughout his life. Again, just every page and every panel is just dripping with detail. All the characters really look unique. Something that is an issue at times. And while at its heart, it's basically a story of revenge, there's a whole lot more to it, actually, and I really don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say that as the story starts, in what seems like a very simple tale ends up becoming something much more complex as things carry on. I want to say originally this was most likely a set of anywhere between 2 to 4 books in the typical French style. And that's one thing I also should mention is this book is quite large compared to a traditional American comic, which I'm desperately looking around the room for, and there's none. Suffice it to say, it's quite a large book. So yeah, the first tome here is basically we have everything set up, what's going on. We've got lots of ninja fighting, lots of bloody swordplay, lots of interesting looking characters, plotting and conniving and drama and pathos. And in the end, well, I'm not going to explain what happens in the end. And we've got some really nice ink brush drawings in the back I thought were pretty cool. And funny enough, this wasn't actually the end of the story, obviously, because if you notice, I also had the second book sitting right here. You can see our Shinosuke is a bit older now. joins a sword dojo and proceeds to get into some interesting experiences. I really like we get into these very old-fashioned ukiyo-e type stories and the beignets in between the action, which was kind of a cool little thing here. I'm not going to show much of this book because this one has lots of stuff that is going to be absolutely spoilers. But the supernatural does start to drift back into the story. If you've ever read any of Tenuta's other stories, there were always elements of that there, and there absolutely are in this one as well. Just showing off some of the neat stuff in the back before the camera falls over. But I thought this was really interesting. In the very back of the book, we've got all sorts of character studies and sketches, and I mean, we've just got tons of them jammed on this page for one of the main characters, who I don't want to explain too much about in case you end up reading this, because there's some interesting stuff going on with that character. These dog things seem to pop up in all of his works. If you look at the back cover here, so you can see here, Legend of the Scarlet Blades. Izuna, I was right. Yeah, you can see the wolf things kind of feature into most of his stories. One of the things that, I don't know, kind of threw me off was I felt like I was reading early 2000 translated manga at some point. It just felt like there was lots of random Japanese words thrown in there just because. And I mean, yeah, it's a very overtly Japanese themed story. It's not actually in Japan, but everything sounds very Japanese. It's not set during any actual period. You get Japanese writing, which I can't really make out, but that's because my kanji skills are terrible as it is. And my kids weren't much help when I was trying to ask them. But overall, I gotta say, through both books, it was interesting enough in the first one to get me to actually buy the second one, which is a feat in unto itself. Half the time when I see stories divided into multi-part books, yeah, you may get me with the first one, but you gotta really get my attention if you want me to pick up the second and subsequent books. So to me, that's a good sign. I was intrigued enough with where the story was going, and I gotta say, I wasn't really expecting some of the twists and turns that do happen to pop up in that second book, but I gotta say, I enjoyed it overall. So if you like this style, and I gotta say, there's not a whole lot, at least off the top of my head. I know there's been some other samurai books published in France that have actually gotten translated into English. Marvel had their very short-lived Soleil imprint at the very early 2000s. And I want to say Titan, actually, or somebody picked up one of their samurai books that they had been publishing, and I want to say they finished it off. I could be wrong, though. But to me, this is a nice, complete work. It makes me want to go back and revisit his earlier stuff, just because maybe I looked at it through the wrong lens. I don't know. I don't remember liking it so much, but this one I really enjoyed. So take that for what you will. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's just my own peculiar tastes, but definitely there's some really nice art here, and I do appreciate the fact that everything is nice and blown up. I really wish we would see more often when we have foreign books brought to America, translated into English, because it's not like these only end up in the U.S. But when we do have these books end up making their way into an English edition, I really do appreciate when we've got these nice, unaltered size. I'm not a big fan of the condensed, squished up little books. So kudos to Humanoids for continuing that trend of putting out nice, big, thick, sturdy hardcovers. I know maybe one of these days I'll bust out my Meta Barons or Techno Priest or some of those other huge ones. But in the meantime, at least we've got some nice fantasy Japanese themed stuff here from Mr. Saverio Tenuta. We'll put a link down below to Humanoid's website if you haven't had a chance to take a look through their catalog. They've got quite a bit of impressive stuff, especially, you know, if you're not familiar with the Inkall, Mobius, and Jodorowsky's stuff. There's some really cool books there, so we'll let you browse that at your own time. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.